Ferrari just did something many people thought that they would never do. Not Lamborghini, not Porsche, not even McLaren. Yeah, Ferrari. And some fans are calling it in the future of performance, while others are calling it the biggest mistake in Ferrari history. As someone who actually owns a modern Ferrari, I have a 296 GTB. I took possession last spring. I love the car infinitely, and I've followed the brand obsessively for years. Today, I'm going to break down the facts, controversy, sales numbers, the criticism, the potential successes, and what the new Ferrari Luce could mean, not just for Ferrari, but for the entire automotive industry. The Ferrari Luce is Ferrari's first fully electric production vehicle. And before anybody says anything, yes, the company's famous for screaming V8s and glorious V12s, just launched an EV. Would you believe that? Now let's talk numbers. The Luce produces approximately 1,050 horsepower, has about 530 kilometers range when fully charged in the optimal conditions, 4 doors, 4 usable seats, maybe stuff that person in the middle who's maybe not on your favorite Christmas list, and of course it does provide all-wheel drive. The estimated starting price of the Luce these days is estimated to be around 550,000 euros before options, but we know how that all spins out. By the time buyers finish checking all the option boxes, some cars could easily approach $800,000 US, or even more. Because apparently spending $500,000 wasn't really irresponsible enough. You know what? How do you put a price tag on passion, right? But why are people losing their minds? Why is this such a polarizing conversation? Okay, hang on. Maybe not polarizing. Polarizing would suggest that there's two strong sides. But when you look all over social media, and I've been watching this very closely, it's not very polarizing because it's very, very vocal on one side, and it's people that clearly are not accepting the new Luce. So the reaction online has been absolutely fascinating. I've rarely seen a Ferrari launch split people this dramatically, and like I said, largely the one side, but there is another side, two sides to every coin. Traditional Ferrari enthusiasts have several concerns, and the first one is no engine sound. Where did the noise go? That's a big part of the experience. And Ferrari fans consider that a feature. This is not just the experience, it's a feature and it's all part of the overall experience and something that just goes hand in hand with driving a Ferrari. It's mechanical opera, it's emotional violence, it's Mozart with gasoline. And now Ferrari is, well, yes, they're introducing a vehicle that's nearly silent. Shh. For some fans, that's like releasing a Ferrari perfume with no smell. The styling. We'll get to the whole concept of the sound, which clearly there is none. But the looks of it, and many enthusiasts argue the Luce looks too futuristic. Many people consider it a blob. It almost looks like a bunch of different colored markers that you take to your school or you use in sort of like highlighters. It's a highlight reel, so to speak. We get the blues and the greens and the yellows, and it's just way out there. Others say it resembles a crossover. Some say it looks like Ferrari mixed a concept car and then accidentally left the dryer on too long. Personally, beauty is subjective, but there's no question the design is very polarizing. It actually looks nothing like traditional Ferraris that are sharp and pointy, very low and wide. Traditional Ferraris are up to my belly button. This one looks quite large and maybe not in charge. But it's the identity crisis. There is a third component that people are not necessarily getting on board with. Many enthusiasts are asking, if you remove the engine, remove the sound, remove the shifting experience, at what point does a Ferrari stop feeling like a Ferrari? And honestly, that's a legitimate question. I mean, I go back to some of the old gated shifters. I've driven the old 360s and 430s and 355s, and that's a big part of the experience. Never mind, fire up the exhaust and you hear that rev, and it's just absolutely breathtaking, to say the least. But there's been a lot of hater comments, and let's just talk about some of those comments because I've been browsing all over. And let's just look at some of the common criticisms floating around on the automotive forums. Yes, some of them are pretty brutal. Some examples are, the soul is gone, Ferrari sold out, this isn't a Ferrari, it's just an expensive appliance. It's a Tesla wearing an Italian suit. It's a Ferrari for people who don't actually like Ferraris. And my personal favorite, if Enzo Ferrari could see this, he'd immediately start building tractors again. Well, now that those comments are funny, They also reveal something important. People aren't angry because they hate Ferrari. People are angry because they love Ferrari. And Ferrari really represents something, a tugging in the passion and the soul. And it's not just about the driving experience, it's all of the history behind Ferrari. And that's why many people consider it almost desecration. People are angry because they love the brand. And Ferrari occupies a place in automotive culture that very few brands can even remotely dream of achieving. When people care this much, controversy becomes inevitable. You know that's going to go without saying. But how about the sales? Everybody knew that this would come out. The real question is, who's actually going to buy this? Well, let's talk about that. And the question everyone really wants to know, is anyone buying it? The answer appears to be yes. Actually, it's only been out for a few days now, and there have been already orders. As a fact, that's where the story gets sort of interesting. Ferrari has publicly stated that customer orders are already being placed. The company says the Luce is attracting existing Ferrari collectors, high net worth EV buyers, and new customers who have never even owned a Ferrari before. Now, see, here's the challenge. Ferrari's not released official order numbers, so anybody claiming exact figures is pretty much guessing. I've got a 296 GTB and I still don't really know the exact number. It's always a bit of a swing and a miss and a shot in the dark, but we can only roughly guesstimate based on the number of production, the amount of people that they have on the ground, and the opportunity for pushing these vehicles out the door. Ferrari typically produces between 13,000 and 15,000 vehicles annually worldwide. Now we're talking the Amalfis, and we're talking about what's left over for 296s and now the Speciales, and pretty much every model that they're producing, up to maybe 15,000 worldwide annually. Well, the Luce is expected to represent only a fraction of the total production. Industry analysts estimate Ferrari may target somewhere in the range of 2,000 to 4,000 Luce units annually once production stabilizes. If achieved, that would actually be considered a massive success. Why? Because Ferrari isn't trying to sell Camry numbers. They don't care about just general traffic. They're not NPCs. Ferrari sells exclusivity. So a Ferrari that everybody can buy is no longer a Ferrari. It's just a very special Honda Civic with better tailoring. Well, the reality of Ferrari customers. Yeah, that's another conversation we need to discuss, because here's something many people actually kind of misunderstand. And, even coming from the true enthusiast perspective, I see things differently than maybe a prospective Luce buyer would. The average buyer isn't spending months arguing on social media. They're usually discussing portfolio allocations over lunch. Online sentiment and purchasing behavior are often completely different. The amount of cars you have to buy before you can get a better car, that's usually how you discuss it. That's the type of conversations that your people are going through when they're looking at buying a Ferrari. History proves this. People often criticized SUVs. Then Ferrari launched the Purosangue. People complained, then they bought them. People criticized turbocharging. They complained, they bought them. Think back when the 458 rolled into the 488. They were absolutely not loved. But it didn't take very long and people warmed over. Now you look back at the F8, and that is the latest iteration of a V8 turbocharged vehicle without hybrid, and people absolutely love those cars. So it took a while, but they warmed over. Now, people did criticize the hybrid Ferraris, then they bought them. You may notice a pattern. Ferrari customers have an unusual habit of buying Ferraris, and I'll be the first to admit, I wanted to hate the 296. When I heard about a hybrid, I really didn't want it. But trust me, I've driven all of the mid-engine Ferraris this side of maybe an Enzo, and let me tell you, it is absolutely amazing and probably one of the best Ferraris from the driver's standpoint that you could ever dream of. So it doesn't matter. People warm over, they get used to it. So why is this moment in history for Ferrari so important? Now let's zoom out. Think about this for a second. This isn't just about one car. This is about one of the most respected automotive brands in history trying to make a statement. They could have waited. Ferrari could have delayed. We know Lambo retracted, Porsche retracted. A lot of these brands said, you know what, we're going to wait on the EVs. We even saw brands like some of the Mercedes-Benz sort of backtracking a little bit, saying, you know what, I don't know if the market's entirely ready. But Ferrari could have ignored all electrification. Instead, they decided to participate. That decision sends a message to the entire industry. If Ferrari believes EV technology deserves a place in the future, every manufacturer is paying attention. Whether enthusiasts like it or not, Ferrari carries enormous influence. They're kind of leaders of the pack. Alpha dogs, perhaps, ring a bell? They don't chase trends, they create trends. When Ferrari moves, the industry watches, they pay attention, they observe. See, Ferrari has become one of the biggest, richest, and certainly one of the most productive manufacturers on the planet. Their profits are definitely up there, and a big part of it is because they don't do as everybody else does. They sort of create their own destiny. So what happens if the Luce succeeds? If it succeeds, several things could happen. First of all, performance EVs become more credible. Second of all, luxury buyers become more comfortable transitioning to electric vehicles. Third, well, let's be honest, Ferrari gains access to an entirely new customer base. And perhaps most importantly, the definition of performance may continue evolving. Because let's be honest, if Enzo Ferrari were alive today, would he be emotionally attached to gasoline? Or would he simply want the fastest, most advanced machine possible? That's a question worth thinking about. I think many of us true die-hard Ferrari enthusiasts like myself and like many of you out there probably have our own way of answering that question. But today is 2026 and it's a different time. And if you're adding electrification to increase the performance, ultimately that is a means to an end. But at the end of the day, I understand both sides. I understand the enthusiasts. I love the sound. I love the emotion. I love the mechanical drama. I love it all. I have all of that. In the 296, and anybody who's driven a 296 and SF90 would easily argue that it's probably most capable Ferrari that they've ever produced. The SF90 puts down more power than the LaFerrari, and the 296 laps Fiorano test track within a second of LaFerrari, so it's proven itself time and time again. But nothing will ever fully replace the experience of a naturally aspirated Ferrari. Nothing. At all. But I also respect innovation. Ferrari has survived for nearly 8 decades because it adapts while preserving its core identity. The Luce may become a huge success. It may become a niche collector's item. It may even become one of Ferrari's most important vehicles ever. But one thing is certain. The car represents a turning point. Not just for Ferrari, for the entire automotive world. And if a company built on passion, racing heritage, and internal combustion is willing to take this risk, willing to take this massive leap into the abyss, the future of the automobile may be arriving faster than many people accept it. But now I want to hear from you. Is the Ferrari Luce the future of Ferrari? Or is it a step too far away from what made the brand legendary in the first place? Drop your thoughts in the comments section below. If you enjoyed this breakdown, I'd like to hear your thumbs up, like, and definitely drop that comment. But from my standpoint, I've got to believe that I'm a buyer who's always going to gravitate to noisy combustible engines. That being said, it's clear to me that Ferrari is looking at expanding its buyer. That buyer who might be looking at the Luce may in fact never have even considered a mid-engine supercar. But now they're looking at this because it scratches a different type of itch. I'd like to hear your thoughts again as always. I really do hope to hear from you, and please do drop a line. We'll talk to you all real soon. Have a great day. Bye-bye.